Keri Glassman. Welcome to your most nutritious life. Today we are covering the topic of picky eaters, little picky eaters. If you're a parent, or you don't even have to be a parent to have experienced this, you could be a friend of a parent, an aunt or an uncle, but if you know any children, you've experienced some sort of frustration around food at some point or another, whether you have an overeater or an undereater or a picky eater or a snorter of sugar, you've been there. Eating and kids is a really, really tough topic because I have to tell you that so many people that come into my office and say, my kids won't eat, they're not eating their dinners. I'm making these beautiful dinners and they're not eating them. The same people that are forcing their kids to finish those healthy meals are often the same parents that come back 5 years later saying, my kid's overweight and they're sneaking food and they're overeating. So it's a tough scenario of, getting your kids to eat healthy foods, but then, worrying about them then overeating later on. And the whole topic of food and kids is very tricky. So I wanna give you a few tips to conquer this issue. Okay, let's get into them. 5 do's and 5 don'ts when it comes to your picky little eaters. Let's start with the 5 do's. Okay, the first one is eat together. You may have heard this before, but it's so super important. So many people don't sit down for a meal with their kids. Your kids need to see you eating healthy food. They also just need to experience sitting down and enjoying meals together. And here's the thing, so many people say to me, it's too hard, I get home late for dinner, or my husband or my partner gets, has a totally different schedule than the kids. It's hard to have a family meal. It doesn't have to be dinner. In my house, we do breakfast together a lot. That's often the meal that we are all together at the same time. So just aim for 3 meals, at least 3 meals together per week. Also, just for even language development for children, it's important for them to have meals with their parents. Okay, the next one is shop together. I was home with my daughter, I think she was 7 at the time, and she had a friend over, and her friend said, "What's that?" And I said, "What's what?" I'm looking around my kitchen, and she said, the orange thing. And I said, "The orange thing?" And she said, "Yeah, that orange thing." I said, "The carrot?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, she said, "That's a carrot?" She said, "The carrots in my house are bright orange and little." And I said, "Oh man, this kid's gotta get out to a farmer's market or a grocery store." Take your kids with you to the grocery store, to the farmer's market. Get them involved with food shopping, and whether you're, again, the farmer's market or the local grocery store, wherever you're going, get them involved. Have them pick out a food. If they pick out a food, they're more likely to want to eat it. And they should also just have an understanding of where their food comes from, but get them involved. The next one is do waste food. Okay, I don't really mean waste. I just mean you'll get to reuse it. But what happens is so many times parents will say, well, I don't even bother putting the vegetables out for my kids because they never eat them and then they go to waste. Absolutely do not do that. You have to continue putting out vegetables, or whether it's fruit or vegetables, or whether it's, even the lean protein like grilled chicken or salmon, whatever you think they're not going to eat but is a healthy food that they should be eating, don't stop making it or putting it out just because they're not eating it. Just reuse it in some way the next day. So for example, in my house, we always have crudite out every single night. It's just in conjunction with whatever the rest of the meal is, there's always crudite. So even if your kids, you think, don't eat any raw veggies like that, have crudite out every night. And you know what? If they don't eat it, maybe you'll put it in a little snack bag for yourself the next morning, or chop up some of those veggies and put it into an omelet for yourself the next morning. You can reuse those veggies or that, chicken or whatever it is the next day in some way, shape, or form, but don't stop putting out those foods that you think, they've turned their nose up to. You have to still be putting them out. The next do is stop talking, just do. Just do and stop talking about it. I always tell people, we just teach our kids good hygiene, right? We teach them to brush their teeth, but we're not sitting there talking about the wonderful benefits of brushing your teeth all day long. We're just teaching them to brush their teeth, and then we're just doing it, and they see us do it, and they do it in the morning. Well, sometimes I have to give my kids a little nudge, but most of all, they just learn to brush their teeth. They learn to shower. They learn to take care of themselves. That's how you should think about food. We don't want to over-talk eating well. So for example, I have a funny story. I had this one client who told me, I keep telling my daughter she has to eat her vegetables, she doesn't eat them, so I just stopped putting them out, and now I keep telling her that she should be eating them. And I said, just stop talking about the vegetables. Just put them out every night and stop talking about it, because even if she doesn't eat them for a year, she's going to be the kid that grows up thinking that vegetables at dinner is just the normal way of eating, that there should be vegetables at the dinner. And that's what you want your kids to do. You want them to grow up knowing that vegetables should be part of the meal without it being hammered down their throat. It just becomes something normal, like brushing their teeth. So she did this for about a year. Every night, vegetables on the plate, daughter never touched them. She didn't get upset about it. She didn't talk about it. She just, put them into her salad the next day or wherever she used them. And then one night she's in a big rush. She puts out chicken and rice for dinner. There's no vegetable on the plate. And her daughter, who is 5, looks up at her and says, "Mom, where are my veggies?" And she's like, "You haven't eaten them. You want your veggies?" But I said, that's a huge accomplishment, because her daughter still understands that vegetables should be part of the meal. And I can guarantee you that that child is going to grow up and be a good veggie eater. The final do is do serve a la your favorite French restaurant. Do not serve big family style meals. Portion your meals in the kitchen. So what I usually recommend doing is portioning the meals, at least the protein and the starch, in the kitchen, and then putting out, if you want extra food out to, if someone's going to be a little bit hungrier, put out maybe an extra serving of vegetables or something like a crudite. So if your child is hungry at the meal, they think to go, or they did finish their whole plate, they see that what's extra, there's extra veggies. But there's no need to have a big thing of rice or a big thing of potatoes on the table. So those are my 5 do's. It's a much broader topic. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What has been your strategy? What has been, a tip that has helped you? Or what's going on with your family? What do you need help with? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I want to hear from you. Thanks, bye.